Hello, everyone. Welcome to our kitchen carnival. It's so lovely to be here with you all again. And another carnival coming. This year, 60 years of Notting Hill Carnival. So it's quite a special
Wow.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot going on, but choosing the cows was so fantastic. I'd like to start by showing you something that we're making. And one of the things we are making this year is a fabulous section of flowers. And so I'm just going to show you the headpiece for this section. It's going to be a set of flowers. Just look at the inside. So we've got a lot of petals to cut out and to paint to get the sense of the flower. I'm just going to
Wow.
grab the design so you can see how it fits in. This is the drawing, and you can see the headpiece there in the center, and it comes in different colors. So the one we were just looking at
Okay.
is the pink with the orange, and then we have all these other colored petals that we have to make the rest of the costume, of course. Yes, there you go.
That's beautiful.
So we hope to make a very wonderful, colorful splash with the flowers. And we did some lovely roses similarly a few years ago, but this is just going to be so beautiful for the road for Carnival. It's called a new awakening. It's a blossoming, the idea of the flower blossoming. So new things can come in the future, a better, brighter future. So that's the idea of that's one of the things that I'll be doing. I've got all the other designs there, and every session I will show you something else that we're working on, so you can see how the story is going to unfold. The
And are
theme
they
is
your
called Nature's Dance, the spirit of Sankofa. And Sankofa is an African symbol that has a bird looking backwards with an egg in its mouth. I'll show you the picture that I have for that. So this is the design. There's the bird looking backwards. There's the bird. You see it? There we go. There's the bird looking backwards with the egg in its mouth. So that's one of the Sankofa symbols. So we've done this, and so we've got a big wing with the bird. So that's the next something else we're going to be working on. See the collars? It's an African symbol from Ghana. It also has a heart. There we go. So we also have this heart costume because there are two shapes that signify the concept of Sankofa. And it means to look back at your ancestral root so you can learn from your past to build a brighter, better future. So that's why, to the awakening, the blossoming of the flower is a key part of our nature's dance this year. So that's what we're going to be making. Some fun.
brilliant? I just wanted to say Glory's joined us. Welcome, Glory.
Yay! Hello,
Welcome,
Glory.
welcome, Jew. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you,
Lovely
Glory.
to see you.
Lovely to
So,
see you too, Clara.
wow. So last week I showed you my first experiment of making a cow. We had a look at that, and I looked inside the head. And today I'm just going to go through with you the stages to make something similar. Okay. So first of all, I started with a Shreddies box, and I uses the mega one because it's a nice long, good size, I thought, and it's easy to kind of find a way to mount it on the head. So I took the box, opened it up. So I've got a nice flat kind of shape. And then I cut it open and I used part of it, but I used the whole backside to be able to use it to make the shape that's going to sit on my head. So I chopped that along the edge, and I do have pictures. So you will be able to see this in a step-by-step version online next week, because I've already taken the pictures. So what the lovely thing about this box is it opens into a lovely bright color, just white, so we can actually paint it easily into other colors, as opposed to the back that's full of blue and different things. So now I can change the color of it very easily. Then I chopped off one whole side. One whole side comes off. Right. So this piece, I use this piece to make the bit that's going to go around my head to make the hat. So what I've done is I prepared one a little bit earlier, so you can see, and I'm just using a bottle, a big water bottle, so that it's easier for you as well. If you don't have a mannequin head like I do, then you can just use bottles that you stuck together. And what I did with that shape, I cut a little shape out where my face would be and a little shape out where my ears would go. So that is inside of this here. You can see, the shape? See the cut where the face was and where the ear comes out. So this gives me something, a shape onto which I could put the whole cow's head. Now, what's really clever too is I've angled it here. So I made some little cuts in the shape and I creased it and angled it so I can get a shape like sitting on that angle, so that I can get my cow head to fit on an angle down. Yeah. So it can fit, angle it down. So just by bending and snipping this at the top, I can change the shape of it, making it a nice strong shape. And then, in order to get it to not be totally square at the front, I cut a bit of it out, so I can get the shape. And now I can bend this piece to make and to fit to the sides to make the cow's head and nose there and there. And then I start to get that shape. This is the little shape that I cut out. So that's quite and when you're cutting it out, I cut this out, and then I use this shape that I cut out to draw around so I could get both shapes symmetrical, so I didn't get a wonky looking cow.
Oh, great. And
wonky looking cows do have a lot of character.
And I was thinking with the cutting out of the shapes for the ear and the face, that perhaps if you use the bottom of a mug for the ears and a plate or a bowl for the face, you'd get that curve quite easily if you just used a pencil around it.
Yeah, so that's the thing that's on the inside there that's going to give you that and create that little shape. But I did try thinking about, Julian, the papier-mâché idea. So that is what's inside of that. You can see inside there, inside of the top. I just folded over the top, and there's that second piece holding the head. So the headband would need an extra piece to hold it on. There's quite a big gap there. So that is the starting point of the cow. Then you cut your shapes for your ears. But thinking about the idea of a papier-mâché concept, I have been, been trying to use something that's easy to mold. So I made a foil cow.
Oh, wow.
I'm making a foil because, we spoke about before that it's so easy to mold, to shape the horns. into a really lovely shape. And because it's so silvery, it's very difficult to color. So I just experimented with some pieces of paper to create patterns on the side of it. Now, this is the shape that could be very easy for papier-mâché because inside of it is one of these. This is a fruit bowl. You get your fruit in it at the grocery. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to dissect it so you can see what's inside. And you see it sits on the head quite well, quite nicely because of that bowl. So I've got the bowl, and then I've just attached a smaller box, which actually is a box that coffee comes in, just the coffee sachets. And I've used that so that I can use it as make the base to put the foil on top. If I just take off the foil, the ACTUP had suggested that we use a balloon. So this is what I tried. Just stick in the box to the bowl inside. It's a small, and we've got something that starts, and then the foil can finish off the rest of any shapes that can be made on top. And then you can papier-mâché on top of that. What do you think about that, Julie?
I think that's brilliant, and I like the idea of using the kitchen foil for the horns, particularly because I was trying to work out what to use as a base for the horns, and what I was trying to think was if I scrumpled up the kitchen foil and then I've got some masking tape, and I was wondering about putting masking tape around it to try and hold it in position so I could get a curve.
Sure. Yes, you can. Because I've just done this very simple. And I mean, look at it. It's actually holding its shape quite well.
It
Consider
really
that I've
is.
taken the form out from inside.
I think it's really holding the shape well, particularly the horns. I think that's great.
I was wondering, it's probably because I don't eat enough fruit, but I don't have any plastic bowls, but I've got lots of baseball caps, and I was wondering whether a baseball cap would be a good base for the foil. Not necessarily for the papier-mâché, but for the foil.
I'm sure it can. This is why I use that hat. And also, you can get so many different kinds of shapes of foil. If you buy quiche or other things like that, other kinds of cakes do come in foil and my throwaway that actually I think started to make it really easy. And just pushing it in there still creates the space for your head. I think that is very interesting, and many different people can use it. Now, Glory, we were very impressed with what you have already done.
Shall I share the photos?
I think we need to share those photos. And Glory,
yes, you were.
I need you to explain to us how you did it, because what I thought was really lovely was you used a different part of the box. I'm using the box with the flat bit like this.
Yes.
But you guys used the box the other way. And that created a really fabulous shape.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell us all about it and how you made your cow head? Wow, look at that. Who is this?
In Hannah's house. In Hannah's house, then they were making me a face like a cow. Pritesh and Sarah's and Hannah's too. And then we'll be pretending gonna be a cow in the Carnival Festival outside of London in Notting Hill Gate. Then we'll be walking, because I like Notting Hill Gate so much, because I wanted to live there after when I live in North Woolwich, then Notting Hill Gate next, then back to Stratford in the Travelodge in the hotel last then I'll be moving everywhere. Then I'll be pretending being a cow, drinking milk.
Is this your cow, this one, the Rice Krispies cow?
Yes.
I love how you got the shape of the cow, and I love how you've used the shape you cut off to be the ears. It
Thank you.
works brilliantly, and you've got a beautiful shape of the bottom of the cow, so we can see your head inside clearly. That's lovely.
Thank you,
Did-
Clary.
Did you tape yourself into it? How did you get yourself out?
When I just got myself out into it, then Hannah was tying me the cow face, then and I taped it, and I was going whoosh. It was going whoosh, 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 and I brought my face back to normal.
I think that's really lovely. Oh, look at Sarah's one. I think we should use, I will do one of the cows on the other side as well of the card. Because I think the way you created the shape there, Glory, it really did look like the side of a cow. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that it then became the ears as well. That's a good lesson, a good way of using stuff. And look at Sarah's one. What is on her nose? What is that thing on her nose? The nose of the cow.
The
Is it a bottle of sorts?
yes,
It looks like it could be a milk bottle or something.
yes.
Yeah, it really looks like a cow. That's fantastic. I like how each person enjoys different cereals. You've
Yeah.
got Rice Krispies, you've got Weetabix, Cheerios, and Rice Krispies. Yeah, that's good. So tell me, what's the next step, Glory? What are you going to do to your cow head next?
Then I'll be wearing it onto my face, then whole of my body in a cow, then I'll be doing it into the outside of London in Notting Hill Gate, then I'll be pretending being a cow, then that's what I'll be pretending, drinking water, milk.
Are you going to make horns for the cow, maybe?
Yes.
And do you think you will paint it or change the color or stick something on it, cover it with something?
Change the colour.
Okay. Did you write a poem, Glory?
Yeah.
You did?
Yes.
Do you remember it?
Yeah. Of the cow, innit?
Oh, wow. What was it? What did you say? What was your poem?
The
Do you
poem's
remember it?
called the poem's called The Cow. That the cow was in the farm getting ready so that he'll drink milk, then it'll make him want to burp, then
I
it'll make
think you're freestyling again, Glory, because I've seen both the poems you wrote this morning, but they're great anyway. So we'll be publishing all of the Carnival Cow poetry on the website in due course, as usual.
yeah. Yes.
Well done, well done. So what do you think about the other cows? Anybody in the room? We've got the approach that which we can use for the papier-mâché. So you thought you could, yeah, I think if you just need to find something, because even if you use something that's a metal bowl, if you cover it with cling film, Julie, which is how I normally do it, whatever the form shape is,
Yeah.
cover it with cling film, and then you can papier-mâché on top of it, and you don't lose the thing underneath, because once you take the cling film off, you get your shape, but whatever you've made it with underneath. So if it's a cake tin and a metal bowl or your cereal bowl, it's fine. It won't be damaged because the cling film will cover it. And then on top of that, you add your foil and make the foil into whatever shape you want. Because I think the foil allows you to add a different character to the actual shape that you make. It can make it smile or bigger eyes and that sort of thing.
Oh, Clary, thank you. That's really helpful and really brilliant advice. It hadn't occurred to me, but you're absolutely right. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, so when you were worried even about the shape for the
Yeah.
horn, it might be that there is something, I don't want to say take your fork and bend it.
Yeah.
Something like an old clothes hanger or something, and then you've got something that you wrap the foil around it. And I was about to say that maybe a banana.
Yeah,
Yes,
I could see that.
Yeah,
yeah, I
but you
can
take
see
a
it as well.
banana and you get some taupe and you wrap it, and you add the foil. So you've got something solidy. And because they don't have to all be on one shape, you can make the horns separately, which is probably a better idea, and then add it to the shape after. But having a solid shape onto which you can wrap the foil will help you to make a better shape, I think.
I
With the
think
And I
that's
think
banana doesn't.
Yeah, and like you were showing us last week, Clary, horns can be different shapes and sizes. You know, it's not one size fits all. I was looking at some cows on TV and it was amazing the kind of variation in the shapes of horns.
Yeah, because even here I've got that shape, and then the other one I've got. Move it. And use that shape.
Oh, yes, I love those.
So that's just an easy cut.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
more
you
like
can
the
do
African cows,
interesting
isn't it?
things, and then we can color them and make patterns all over them. Is my camera seems to be moving in and out? Are you seeing it like that?
Yes, I think it's a bit fixated on the mannequin, so it just keeps moving over to that head whenever you but it's fine. Alison, I know that the Make and Nature have done papier-mâché before. What did they use?
Just flour and water and little strips of newspaper. And we did it on a bowl.
So that's quite similar then,
So
isn't it?
yeah, it was just we didn't use cling film, we just put it against the bowl, but you can use cling film. I think we used a plastic bag one year.
Yeah, because you just need something that is a release. And something that
Yeah,
will cover whatever the form shape is, so that way you don't destroy anything that you have. And then because even foil would be enough of a release, because you can't just pull it off just like I did.
yeah.
And it's held its shape. Look, it's still holding its shape.
I love the idea of doing it with just simple flour and water paste.
Mm.
So and the thing about using just that any old something as well, is that we did speak about perhaps wrapping it with fabric, or to change the texture with wool or anything like that. Just having a shape that you can then, it's solid and you can do different things with, I think is quite, and this was just so quick to do. Everything, everything here is actually really very, very quick to do. And the next stage, of course, transforming it by coloring it or adding decorations to it would will turn them into quite interesting things. But I really would like I think it is a good idea to, let's see if we could find other character cows, whether they're a bit sort of sometimes if the shape of the mouth is exaggerated, it makes the cow look angry, or it makes the cow look happy, or whereas my cows have no character, they're just kind of a piece of cardboard. But I do think, Glory, that your cow is very special. That shape is fantastic. So I'm really keen to find out about your next poem that tells us something about the personality of this cow. Is it a lively cow? Is it an anxious cow? Is it going to run down everybody in the carnival? Because one of the things about the traditional characters were that
Yes, it
they were
is.
never
Yes, it
just,
is. Yes, it will.
good. You got to think about the performance, right? Because when
Yes.
the traditional characters were always engaging characters, so they didn't just have a speech, some of them, they also would come up to you, the audience, and do things and tell you something. So when you are with Stara and Pratesh, you need to think about that, because one of the pictures that I showed you that's in the PDF, we see two cows in the cow band actually interacting with
Yes.
each other. Yeah.
Yes.
And your group is the
Yes.
only group. Everybody else is going to be by themselves, filming by themselves, but you are
Yes.
the only group where you're all together. So we're going to see a real cow band.
Yes.
So it would be really interesting. And Ju has made these fabulous instruments that it would be great for you to make. And that would be really fantastic to see the performance of a real cow band coming out of the workshop.
Yes.
Shall I just screen share and give you your voice a break for a minute, Carrie, and show them the page with the instruments?
Yes.
Right. So bear with me while I try and screen share. So this is the new web page about cowbell percussion. And what I've discovered is that the traditional cowbell, the cows had a bell around their neck, and it's just like a standard bell clapper. I'm just wondering if, Laurie, I'm just going to pop you on mute because I'm not very good with background noise. That's better. If other people stay on mute, that would be helpful. So cowbells are used across the world to make noise at celebrations and sports events. And the way this apparently is thought to have come about is because amateur sporting events would often take place in fields where there might also be cows, or there might be cows in the next field, and they'd be wearing bells around their necks so their owners could keep track of them. And it was easy to take the bells off their necks temporarily and ring them to make lots of noise to cheer people on or at celebrations. So that's where cowbells started. But the agogo percussion, which is a cowbell percussion instrument, which we now see in Africa and South America, is more like this that we can see here. So you've got two different bells, if you like, of different sizes to make two different notes. So this is a typical capoeira agogo, and you can see they're sort of tied onto a stick. And this is more typical of South America. The African ones, which I've got, but I can't get to mine at the moment, are more hand forged, and are just wonderful. But all we need to do is have either two plastic bottles of different sizes or two tins of different sizes, plus a cooking spoon, a pudding spoon, and some rubber bands. And the instructions are all here. It's very quick and easy. And unlike our previous things, it doesn't involve any decorating. You don't need any pens or paints because it's not a decorated instrument. Nothing to stop you decorating it if you want to, but you don't need to. So it really is just start with a rubber band around the biggest bottle, push the end of the spoon in and do an extra twist. Move the bottle up towards the bowl of the spoon. Put a second rubber band on with the smaller bottle, twist, just do one double twist with the spoon handle around there, push it up next to the other one, and then it's just got two extra rubber bands to hold it together at the top and the bottom so that it stays together as one instrument. And then you just hold it with one hand in the bowl of the cooking spoon, and you hold the pudding spoon with the other bowl, and you hit it. It's as simple as that. But because you've got two notes, you can make all sorts of rhythms up. And this again is just showing you the same thing using tins. So the only thing that you have to be aware of is you need the spoon to be, if you like, on the outside. So if you're right-handed, the spoon needs to be on the left, and if you're left-handed, then the spoon would need to be on the right. And then it just swings free and you hit it. You could possibly do it with sellotape, but I don't think you'd get as much of us. It wouldn't resonate as much. So that's our kitchen carnival cowbell percussion. We're also making, because I think maracas are another thing that's part of traditional cowbell percussion. So we're also looking at just basic containers, like maybe milk containers with some bits of plastic in. Anything you can hold, anything that's small enough to hold in your hands and to shake, which again, you can decorate or not as you want. So that's the basis of our percussion. Actually, I'll just go back to the screen share for 1 minute to say, if you look at the Kitchen Carnival homepage, we've got other Kitchen Carnival percussion instruments as well. So if you want to make a shaker, for example, all of the, which is pretty much like a Yeah, there's not much difference between a maraca and a shaker, except you want to be able to hold the maraca in your hands. Then the shaker is very much kind of part of this thing here. So yes, lots of percussion ideas if you want them. And I'll hand that back over to you, Clary. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Clary.
Yeah. But that is interesting because it means that the performance can include and should include the instruments because it's
Yeah,
a cow band.
exactly.
Yeah. So that's good. I think that, yeah. So we will be interesting to see. Alison, what are your thoughts about your cow?
I like the one that you've got the cereal box with, and the one that goes round the back and then hanging over the head.
That one?
Yeah, I like that.
I have to admit, though, now that I've seen Glory's one, I'm really wanting to make one like Glory. Because the shape, I've done it this way, but he was able to create that shape just by using the box the other side, the other way around. So
Yeah,
I think when we do the sort of online thing, I should do one that shows the box both ways. It does do a
okay.
very different thing, doesn't it? And that way we can think about it in different ways.
Yeah,
Because you get exactly the same effect, but you're using this part of it and not the side part, the way that I'd made it in two pieces. Yeah, I was just thinking my head would be very big in the middle, but that didn't bother them because the card has molded itself around their head perfectly. So that's good. Okay, and Marcy, what have you been thinking about with your cow?
Yeah, I've been thinking about the ears and the kind of the movement that they can have when they kind of move about. Like I really like these ones when they like f go floppy like that. It's kind of like my dogs as well. So I'm trying to think of materials that will allow us to do that, and if I can use like cereal boxes and curl it to the point where it gets a bit more flexible.
Floppy? Yeah, because there's a big difference between this look and that look. Let's see if I can
Mm.
move back. Look at the ears there. One straight out, the other one droopy. So it does actually, and I think the African pictures that we looked at, their ears were very droopy, weren't they? That's in the
Yeah.
PDF. Yeah. And there were even some very long ears that we thought, well, those look like dog ears that were really, really very long. I think those are all the things that will help each animal to look interesting and different.
Mm.
Yeah, there's so many different sorts of cows. I'm only really just beginning to realize since we started the carnival. You know, like we said last week, you've got the ones with the long hair, the ones with the short hair, the ones with the patterns, the ones with different colors. They've got different horns and different ears. How would you think of us doing the eyes? Because I think that's one of my sticking points is what do I make eyes out of?
Well, the thing is, the eyes aren't very prominent like some other animals. So I just used a bit of foil here to to make an eye that kind of protruded a little bit. And I would need to think about, and here I was just sketching the eye on. But but we could add that, bottle tops, different things. If you look at what Starren they did, that was really good. They had a variety of eyes, but I work a lot with the card and the paper. So I think
Julie,
we should find things. Also, there was a discussion last week about using the egg boxes because
yeah,
again you get a protruding thing from an egg box that will give you a shape and for the nose and for the eyes. That is would make a really good focus to create something where the eyes tell a good story.
Julie, am I imagining it, or do Jersey cows have quite long eyelashes?
Ooh.
They've got beautiful eyelashes.
Oh, well, we're going to
They
look at
really
the
do.
detail.
You're not imagining it at all. They've also got very, very pretty little faces. You know, their noses as they come down are quite pronounced. The lines are very nice, but the colouring is quite interesting. I was wondering, Clary, about the hair. I wanted to do something that was a little bit shaggy, but to do it in paper mache, what would you recommend?
If you're going to do it in papier mâché, the way that you apply the glue and the paper is, I think you make a form and then you add it in texture. A bit like when you use very thick acrylic paint, you know, as well, because then you can create texture. So you don't paint flat brushing, you stibble, stabble, stick. And so you do it so that the paint is sticking out and hard and added in a stabbing kind of approach rather than in a brushing kind of approach. And
So
of
to
course,
sort
it
of-
is possible that there are because when you're doing paper, you can use so many different kinds of things. So if you use loo paper, which is very thin and soft, you will get a different effect from if you
Oh.
use something that's a bit harder, like newspaper, which is a much coarser fabric piece of paper. But of course, you can do the whole thing with fraying fabric that's like an old jumper or something, where you've got wool that already starts to become hairy, and so you can add it to a part of it, and then you can fray it out and still add. So there's no reason why you can't have the gluey, harder texture mixing with a softer piece of material.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
Thank you.
combining materials. You just got to the effect you want. What's a bit like it, and kind of
Yeah,
use a little bit of rug or a bit of matte. Toweling might be interesting as well. Again, some towels have a very thick kind of pile that you might be able
not
to
my ones.
frame.
But no, I think having the loo paper, of course, is yes, absolutely. It would never have occurred to me.
Yeah, because if you use the loo paper in the small, slightly smoother part of the thing, you get a smaller texture, and you're putting on the glue and the paper in a particular way. And then when you want it to be kind of very high, then you add it in a different way. So it's about how you apply it,
Brilliant. Thank
the way
you.
that you actually put it on. And I tend to use PVA when I'm doing papier mâché. I don't use I just because I think I can it will dry harder. But if you want a more Alison's approach using wallpaper paste and that sort of stuff is of course one really, because then when you do something like wallpaper paste and you mix it up as a paste, you get a much smoother finish. Whereas if you're layering with paper and glue, then you get the effect that you get, you know, and you can use once it's very wet, you can still mold it and get the paper to lie quite flat.
I think we used flour and water because then people don't have to go and buy anything,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's, you know, so it's just about taking it out of the kitchen. But I think in this case, people can use whatever they want. I've just remembered that I know a cow poem that was taught to me by my father, who died a very long time ago, but he used to love the kind of music hall and the kind of comedy acts and so on. So it's very short, I promise you. I'm just trying to see if I can remember it. They strolled down the pasture together. The sky was studded with stars. They reached the gate in silence. For her, he lifted the bar. She turned her soft eyes upon him, but there's nothing between them now. For he was only the farmer's boy, and she the Jersey cow.
Oh, wow. That's really cute.
So I don't know which kind of 50s stage it graced, but it was some, you know, it was a little sketch or something from the distant past. But that was my Jersey cow remembrance.
I've never done papier mâché with flour and water. Alison, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you do that? How much flour and how does it work?
I think it's half water to flour. Don't quote me on that, but on the internet it sort of has a recipe. and just mix together, and that's it. You can just paste it on.
Oh, wow. And
Mm.
the paper will dry hard. Can you then use
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
That's excellent. So are you going to try the flour and water, Julie?
Yeah, I think because we have to stick to the rules.
Kitchen.
Yeah,
You gotta stick
to
to
the
the
kitchen.
kitchen.
That's right. But I think, yeah, for sure. And
Have
I
you done it before?
I have, but it was, oh my goodness, it must have been 30 or 40 years ago. It
Wow.
was such a long time ago. So I might need to check in with Alison from time to time for tips.
Yeah, because how long does it take to dry and that sort of
Yeah.
thing and so there's
It's
you're gonna
it's
need to explore that, isn't it?
perfect immediately. You can use it immediately after you mix it. But once it's on, it does take quite a long time to dry. I think it
Are we
probably will
talking
take,
days, hours?
no, I think it sort of would take about a day,
Yeah,
something
it's not
like that.
necessarily any longer than PVA because once you really soak stuff in PVA, that's not the
Yeah.
quickest dryer either, is it?
No, it isn't. It
I
isn't.
think we started with flour and water, really back in the sort of days of the pandemic where, nobody could go out. But it's
That's right.
surprising how effective it is, isn't it, Alison? And certainly it's a lot cheaper than trying to go out and buy wallpaper paste.
Or anything like that. Absolutely. So
Mm.
I think that I'm setting a challenge, Alison, you and Julie.
Well, I think it sounded like Alison didn't want to do papier-mâché. She wanted to do the hat
Oh,
one.
that's true. She
Yeah.
did. That's right.
But I
Okay,
feel,
Alison, I'll let you off the hook.
but
Julie
I
is in your court.
Well, I'll see what I can get started on anyway for next week, Clary.
Because
And then I might need to ask yours and Alison's advice as to the next steps. But I'm very excited about it, I have to say.
I think that's right. I think once you get your basic formed shape,
Yeah, that's
then
exactly
it's
right.
easy, isn't it? What you use.
Yeah, for sure. I think, sort of it's the basic shape. What you've done though is you've actually managed to get that strange little angle that their little heads come down at, and when it goes in, sort of like it isn't straight. It's not like a donkey at all, or even a dragon. It is possibly more like a dragon, but it's that
Yes,
sort
it
of
does
like the
curve, doesn't it?
contours. Yes, that's exactly right. And I
This
think
line
it's
here.
wonderful. Yeah, it's very, very inspiring.
we always say that we think the dogs think the cows are dragons because they can't see them, they can just hear the kind of noise.
That's yeah, that's good. So next week,
Well, I was going to ask you, Clary, as we've got a little bit of time, when we start thinking about the cloak, is it a cloak or a robe? And how could we start thinking about that?
well, I think looking at them, that it's definitely a cloak, a feeling of a cloak. But I think that some of them did have trousers as well. So I will look again. And in some of them, we could see that it wasn't a total cloak because when they turned sideways, you could see their bodies. So there's a picture where it's obviously something like a poncho,
Right.
and so that they could then. So if you just took an old sheet or something like that, cut a hole, and it's long, it's something like or a strip. We can work with things something like that. Yeah.
So it sounds like we're back to the point where if people haven't got any of those things, it's back to cutting a hole in a bin liner and sticking it over your head and putting things onto the bin liner.
Yes, because that's actually quite easy to do. And you can get bin liners in different colors as well. But we know that the black one, by the time you put other stuff on top, it's going to disappear anyway.
Yes, exactly. You wouldn't see whatever is on top, would you? I mean, I
Yes,
think
you
in
wouldn't
this
see what's on top.
weather, it would be, if people have got an alternative to plastic, I think that has to be a good idea. But, they won't be wearing it for very long to film. So,
Yes. And I think that it's a bit, but like what we did the Piero Grenade, isn't it? It's a similar thing. And ACT UP did find a range of solutions to when they were doing that. So I'm sure we're going to find a whole range of different ways to make a cloak with things that come in little pieces. Yeah, that would be excellent.
I liked what you were saying about toweling and the texture of toweling, and thinking if anybody had got any sort of, because again, you can always staple towels and things together if anybody had got big old towels. Because it's only once they start wearing down and become threadbare that the texture becomes really interesting, isn't it?
Yes, true. Yeah. So what else makes nice textures? We keep thinking about it. I think what I will do, as Julie mentioned, the detail of the cow, I think we will look in more detail at the eyes and the eyelashes and that sort of thing, and the mouth and the nose. So I will do some research on that to bring up some really good pictures to add to our PDF
I
so we
think
can
with the
see.
costume, you never really see the shape of the cow, but I was watching this cow competition, as you do, on the TV last night. And of course the cows that they have, it's one of the big agricultural shows. So they're not the sort of cows that you see next door in the field. But they were, I don't know, Judy, whether this is something you know more about, but you could see all of the bone, although they're huge animals, the hip bones came right up. They've got these massive ribs, but you could see every single rib under the
Oh,
hide. I've never seen anything like it. Like I say, obviously, these were champion cows or possibly bulls. But it was incredible the way you saw the bones coming through. And like I said, these huge, huge ribs and these huge hips sticking out. Julie, can you tell us any more?
I was surprised myself because I'd never seen, other than, sort of cattle that are more free range. I don't know what the word is, I suppose free running cattle. I'd not seen them quite like that before, but I think I took some screenshots of the show last year. I'll hunt them out and see whether there's any that I can share with you guys.
They're incredible.
They were, but it's interesting because you've also got the beef cattle, which are so big, really big. But
Yes,
then
they had these prizes. Well, the competitions were sort of you have five matched bulls or five matched milking cows, and so you have to have one. I think they were coming often from different local farms coming together, and then you'd got each one was being led by somebody, and of course the bulls have got the rings in the nose, which is something else we could look at in terms of the cows. But it was just the size and the color and the kind of power of them was quite incredible. But as you saw these five striding in line, you thought, oh yeah, cow band.
definitely.
And they were very much parading around the ring with all these people there. It was just like the carnival, this was the real cow band.
Yeah. Actually, there wasn't a lot of pictures out there of the actual Trinidadian cow bands, but there was just so much other lovely cow celebrations, where the cow is a feature. So I think that we've got a lot of inspiration to pull from.
I hadn't realised till last week culturally, how much went on with cows. And more recently I've got used to the cows calling me when I go into the kitchen. But yes, I just hadn't really connected that there was this entire kind of international experience.
So do you think they are actually calling you because they could see that you're there?
Well, I don't think so, Julie does. I do think they work out very quickly with a new herd where the humans are. And maybe they think we're funny or we smell funny or we might give them some food, or our bungalow kind of butts onto a bit that's quite overgrown, so they like coming for a chat. But it does seem funny that the mooing stops if I go out.
Okay.
And if I carry on at the computer, the mooing carries on. So I think possibly sometimes they are calling.
I think they're calling you because cows are actually, you said it last week, Clary, cows are really friendly. They're herd animals, and they like being around things and people and busyness. I think up on the moors or wherever they, sort of like on the wastelands, they've always got something new to look at or smell. But when they're domesticated like this, they get quite interested, and I think they do think we're quite funny. I think we're sort of like their equivalent of television.
Yeah, what are those humans up to today?
Yeah, and I think that the dogs are too small and too old and,
Yeah.
too busy pretending they're not seeing them to bother them. So, I think if we'd got a different kind of dog, perhaps they wouldn't be so interested. But it's certainly an experience I never expected to have. But then I look out at night sometimes and I see bats, and I never expected when we did the first kitchen carnival with the bats ever to see real bats.
Wow.
But now,
Are
of
they very
course,
big?
well, there's different. Some are, most aren't. I mean, like, they're so quick, but it always makes me think of the kitchen carnival. And whenever I see the bats, I think of all of you.
So all we need now are the dragons and the donkeys to come along.
Well, of course, yes. I'm sure there are dragons kind of flying overhead on the scene. But no, I remember saying to Glory, who laughed like a drain about it, I lived with a donkey. I lived near a donkey once many years ago, and it's ee-aw, ee-aw, all times of the day or night. No, I don't want a donkey as a neighbour. I think it was great fun to be a barracuda, but in real life, no. I think the cows are much quieter. But you used to have a donkey, didn't you, Julie?
I did
Wow.
indeed on a small holding, and everything I read told me it was about as intelligent as a 7-year-old child, and it really, really was. Little Carriad used to open the kitchen door to come into the house and find us if we weren't around. And he made best friends with a young goat that was born on our small holding, and they were inseparable. They were really, really good friends. But they're a bit like cows. They're very, very nice to have around. Happily, we don't have enough room. Otherwise, I think we'd have donkeys and chickens and all sorts trotting around.
But I think the lesson there is that all animals are very, very, very intelligent, and they have compassion, they have love, they have they have very, very deep feelings, and they miss you, and as you see, the cow is interested, she comes to see you, and you can form an amazing relationship with that particular cow, and it will come and see you every day at the same time, and it will respond. Yeah, I'm never underestimate. Even there was a stick insect. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, we call it a god horse in Trinidad. We went to India, and there was this stick insect in this room, in this big castle thing that we were building that we visited. And she was just so as if, what are you doing in my room? Do you know what I mean? It was on the table, this teeny thing. And we're like, oh, look at her. And so we went up to it. It didn't run away or nothing. And when you put your finger, she was like, oh, so who are you? She's touching the finger. She didn't run away. She wasn't afraid. She didn't attack us. We didn't. And we were just having this conversation, if you like, and interaction with this stick insect, which one would consider to have very little charm or anything like that. And then it kind of responds like you would expect any other pet, cat, dog, anything to respond, touching and checking who you are and not leaving it. This is its domain, that room. It spends time there, so it's not going because you've come in, kind of thing. It didn't run away and hide. And it was really fascinating to see how it just had intelligence. It was actually strong personality, and not afraid to explore us.
And I think that was a wonderful story, and I think it really sort of tells us when we're finding the characters for our carnival characters, they're not basic. It's not about going, oh well, I'm moody or I'm grumpy or I'm happy. It's much more complex than that, isn't it? And that's how traditionally carnival's always taken these things very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it would be very interesting to see how ACT UP, perhaps in the film too, how we present and if you see it, well then does it really do something quite different from what you just see? So we encourage in the performance, playing with the thing, some kind of more emotional characteristic thing, bowing the head to raising the head, rising up, different positions that bring the characters more strongly to life on film.
That's
Not that
really
I know how to do that.
well, I've got Dance on Screen Club on Monday, so I think what we'll focus on is those movements. I don't know how far we'll get, but at least we can start thinking about how you embody those movements.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really helpful because we just, as usual, we just have the one kind of movement session before people go off and do their filming. So yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah,
And
because there was one of those pictures where you can see the two cows, and it's as if they are rearing at each other, but the body of the performer is on an angle as if they're trying to be cow. So if you wear the cow head up here, in order for other people to engage with the cow, you have to drop your head. So only when the head is down here do we actually see the cow and the body, but we don't see you as a person when the head is on the top. So that too is something. So if they play it like this, then the head is way up there. But when they play it like this, then we see the head. But then what Gloria and they have done is really amazing because they're almost always in it from the side. From the side, their head is inside of it. So just very little movement down brings the front of the head forward and then up, and so I think that it allows us to have a different kind of performance.
You also mentioned last week the possibility of making a little slit, like a little post box hole, so that you could, if somebody wanted to have it further down, you could still see out, which I was quite struck with.
Yes, that's because I think some of them would have been like that, because we have seen some where you can see from the shoulder that their whole head is inside of it. So then somehow they are actually seeing out. So if it's a slit, or even if you cut a little pattern out, as the cow has a shape, that will too be interesting. Let's see who comes up with something that does that.
Thank you so much, Clary. It's been another fascinating. Yeah, I mean, it's just been a great session, and yes, we'll see you again next week. I hope everybody who's not been able to make it today has enjoyed watching this, if you're watching it as a video. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week. But also on Monday, we'll be doing cow dances. On Tuesday, Alison will be looking at masks and possibly a bit of percussion in Making Natter, and then we'll be doing more cow poetry on Wednesday, and I think Kate also has carnival plans for the Thursday. So like I say, if you're watching this on video, please join us next week, and if you've just been here with us today, thank you very much indeed.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Look forward to seeing cows next week.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.